certain aspects of tourism and tourism development. Not surprising, of course, it is being held in collaboration with the University of the West Indies Cape Fear campus and the Barbados Community College and Hospitality Institute, the Pomerine Hotel. So we are happy in that respect. There are two other major events I would just mention here that you should put on your calendar, and in some cases you can register for them. We have forms here for the media to register for the, of course, the annual Caribbean Week in New York. It's a celebration of all the vacation attributes of the Caribbean. That will be held from the 3rd to the 9th of June this year. A press release on the program for Caribbean Week will follow. And of course, we will have our State of the Industry Conference. That will be held in St. Kitts from the 11th to the 13th of October. The CTO is still planning that program, and you will get more details shortly. That is only the third edition of that conference. The first one was held here. You may recall that we had Bill Walsh, who at the time was the CEO of British Airways. We had a very good conference, I thought. Last year, we moved over to Saint Martin, or Saint Martin. I think it was both the Dutch and the French side. So, yeah, the conference was on one side, and the actual accommodation was on the other side. So we had Saint Martin slash Saint Martin hosted last year's conference, and this year, of course, it moves over to St. Kitts. So we again look forward to having a very high level of participation, and again, we are talking to senior executives involved in the tourism sector who will be attending that conference. Well, additionally, the CTO, of course, has been doing a fine job of advocacy on behalf of the Caribbean, representing Caribbean tourism interests all over. The lobbying effort, of course, recently has been focused on the air passenger duty bill in the UK, and the lobbying campaign by the CTO has worked well. We have, in fact, been part of the process of leading on this issue. The fact that the Chancellor of the Exchequer and his ministers and other ministers in the British government have mentioned the Caribbean's position on several occasions demonstrates the fact that the lobbying effort is working. It is true that there are some increases planned for April of the APB, 8% increase increase on what's presently being charged. But you may recall last year, April, the planned increases then were delayed pending a consultation exercise. And again, the Caribbean position, as put by the CTO through the All Caribbean Committee in the UK and so on, was specifically mentioned on the floor of the House of Commons. So we are reaching the decision makers. We regret that, in spite of fully participating in the consultation exercise at the level of the Council of Ministers, because there were several visits by ministers from throughout the Caribbean, including the chairman, well, the current chairman, the former chairman, former minister of Jamaica, Minister Bartlett. We had former Minister St. Lucia as well, Mr. Chancellor, myself, and we did put the case. However, the British government has decided, while in first instance they delayed the increases, they are putting the increases, the 8% increases in place from April. So the £75 APD on persons traveling economy will be moving to £81, and the £150 APD for persons traveling business and higher will move to £162. It simply means we have to continue our work in terms of lobbying this tax. They recognize it discriminates against the Caribbean. They recognize that it's negatively impacting us. But at the same time, they have gone ahead not only to keep it in place, but to put the increases on top of it. So we are not going to, in any way, stop putting our case. It is not that we have failed, far from that. Um, they have recognized that we have gotten through, but they have indeed taken what they think is in their position. This is a matter on which CTO again will continue to lead its efforts. You can also look forward to more of this sort of work as well. There is a suggestion that in the EU, aviation taxes that may be incarnated from the APD may start to appear in other parts of Europe. You're very concerned about that, and we're not waiting for it to happen. The TTO is also interacting with many of the EU institutions in Brussels, including the European Parliament, to make sure that we can continue to put our case as the advocacy aspect of the CTO's work is strengthened. One of the things that we discussed at the Council of Ministers meeting Paradise Island earlier this year is the need for that. We have been heavily focused on the APD for good reasons, but we also need to start to concentrate some of the advocacy work at some of the issues that are also relevant to the US source market and of course the European situation as well. Let me just say finally that it can be of no surprise to anyone that tourism spend in the region is lagging. This is a direct reflection of global consumer behavior due to the economic circumstances that we continue to see in our major source markets. In the face of that reality, we still welcome 23.8 million visitors to our shores in 2011. That was an appreciable increase over 2010. And we also anticipate further increases in 2012. That tells us that the Caribbean brand is still very strong and very desirable. And I think a lot of that has to do with the work that the Caribbean Tourism Organization has been doing. And so once again, I salute the work of the Secretary General and his entire team. And in doing so, it is of course my pleasure to hand over to the statistical specialist at the CTO, Mr. Sean Smith, who will give you more particulars insofar as the state of the Caribbean tourism